right. Welcome back, fellow jazz bums. Today we have the honor of Nick Phillips joining us. So welcome, Nick. We're gonna go over your new project that just came out, the Miles 56 box. So we have a link in the description, the Craft Recordings website, for everyone to be able to find more. I also know there's a Bandcamp where you can go and stream some of the digital files, so you can go check that out as well. And there's, this will be in Amazon and, record stores around the country. So welcome, Nick. We're really excited to get into this.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me back.
All right. So you've been back. We interviewed you for the Miles Davis 54 box. And did we interview you for the 55 box? I think
Probably.
we
Yes, we did.
I'm pretty sure we did. So this will complete its set now. Yeah. So we're excited to get into it. Felipe, do you want to kick us off here?
Yes. Thank you so much for joining once again. Nick Phillips, musician, educator, producer, curator for Craft Concord Records. I think it's probably your fourth time here with us, and we truly appreciate you being so kind and accessible, and always being here to talk about releases and talk about music in general. It's a great pleasure for us. Thanks so much for joining. So 2 years ago, that's the third. We started with 3 boxes. That's right behind you. Miles 54.
Boom.
Miles 55.
Okay.
And now we get Miles 56 right here, which we had the pleasure to audition again, and there's some similarities, some differences from the previous boxes, which we're gonna want to go through. But first, I think when every trilogy is kind of completed and finished, I think the first question we were gonna ask, and because this coincides with Miles' centennial in 2026, it's like, was this always meant to be a trilogy, right? If you thought that through to be okay, let's start now, let's finish in 26. So did you already have this already planned, that the 54 would lead to the 56 ultimately, or it was something that you guys kind of thought while going? How did the whole project develop now that's came to a completion?
Yeah, good question. It was conceived as a series. So
okay,
as I was splunking in the Miles Davis catalog 4 years ago or so, I realized that 2024 would mark the 70th anniversary of Miles Davis's 1954 Prestige recordings. So that's how it kind of started. And I said, wait a minute, okay, then obviously 55 would be the 70th anniversary in 2025, and then 56 would be the 70th anniversary of those recordings in 2026. But then also the fact that 56 and 2026 marks the Miles Davis centennial. It also marks the John Coltrane centennial. He was born in September 1956. And so this Miles Davis box set, this Miles 56, celebrates not only the 70th anniversary of the Prestige recordings, but also Miles' centennial and Coltrane's centennial. And a super majority of the tracks in this box feature the Miles Davis quintet with John Coltrane, Red Garland, Paul Chambers, and Philly Joe Jones. But it opens with a few tracks featuring Sonny Rollins.
Yeah.
And Sonny Rollins was the last of the living artists that were in this box set, and he passed away one day before the release date, before Miles's centennial.
Oh, right.
So it's both eerie and fitting that the set opens with some Sonny Rollins on a few tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I remember. Sorry, Mike. Because I remember from the Miles 55 box, it kind of shows this like turn of the wheel, this crucial moment when kind of Coltrane gets more confidence, Miles sort of boosts him, and the band kind of starts assuming its identity, right?
Right. The Miles 55 box concludes with the first of those quintet recordings, and the recordings that appeared on the album that just has the word Miles on the cover. It's the new Miles Davis Quintet. So that's how the 55 box ends. Then he recorded a few tracks March 16th with Sonny Rollins, Tommy Flanagan, Paul Chambers, and Art Taylor. And so those 3 tracks ended up being part of the album that was released as collector's items.
Right. And the B-side of collector's items has, that's the B-side. And I think Parker's on that as well.
Charlie Parker plays on the other tracks, and he's playing tenor sax.
Yes, that's right.
So, and he's actually playing tenor sax alongside Sonny Rollins.
Right.
The other tracks from that.
And it's so funny because you're like, well, let me see if I can differentiate the tenors. And you could easily differentiate when Parker's playing. And it makes you want to, it makes me wish that there were more recordings of Parker playing tenor, because he sounds fantastic.
It sounds great. Yeah.
Right. And there's a good history with that session too. We're not a good history, but there's a history of that session if you want to dive into it. But Sonny Rollins in 56, he put out, I believe, Sonny Rollins +4, Tenor Madness, Saxophone Colossus, Rollins Plays for Bird. So 56, you have Rollins putting out a lot of leader dates that are very good. You have Miles doing that. And you think about like Coltrane. I think Coltrane leader date starts in 57, if I'm not mistaken. He plays on 56 dates. Obviously, he's in the quintet.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but the bulk of Coltrane stuff was in 58. In fact,
58. Yes, thank you.
We did a Coltrane 58 box a number of years ago with some similar concept, focusing on his recordings of that year, sequencing them chronologically.
Right.
So you hear the evolution of his style over the course of that
and that's
year. Same with so the concept was already there with the Coltrane project.
But this is one of the things I'm excited to talk about, because I've been there, I've just been kind of dissecting the Prestige catalog, and there are kind of there's a particular kind of leader group and style of 56, both like with the jam sessions. 56 is stocked with like jam sessions, like side A is one entire song, like the All Morning Long, All Day Night Longs.
Right.
Those are those.
Long, yeah.
So like that's going on at Prestige, and those have like a particular kind of loose style to them. There's also like things like four altos and tenor conclave, where it's just like it's four altos or four tenors. Like it's a lot of tenor and alto on these tracks.
Yeah.
The reason why I mention this is because now you have same year the Miles Davis quintet comes in, and as you mentioned, the new Miles Davis quintet, the first recording of theirs came out in 55, right? That was part of the last box.
And when you hear 55,
when you hear that, and then when you hear 56, what his peers are doing, and then you hear what the Miles Davis quintet is doing, it really is quite an exceptional sound that they're making on those four records that we'll get into.
Yeah, it was a really fertile year for classic hard bop, what is now classic hard bop.
Yeah.
And to your point about the certain looseness and the jam session thing, that was kind of Prestige Records house style, if you will, because with Prestige recordings, there weren't any rehearsals, or at least not any that Bob Weinstock was paying for. So, and he had a dedicated day each week with Rudy Van Gelder. This is the day I'm going to bring people in to record Prestige stuff. So Weinstock's thing, it was always, he wanted it to be like you were in a club. He didn't want things to be over rehearsed. He wanted that jam session spirit. In fact, I remember having a conversation with Orrin Keepnews, the Riverside Records founder and producer, and he said the difference between Prestige, Riverside, and Blue Note was Blue Note, you had a couple days of rehearsal and a few days of recording. Riverside, you had 1 day of rehearsal and 2 days of recording. And he said, Prestige, you had no rehearsal and 1 day of recording. So that
definitely will make a difference. Yeah.
I think one of the Sonny Rollins records, it's on Sonny's biography. I think Coltrane was sleeping in the car. They just brought him in to play for a track.
Oh, Tenor Madness. It's that track, Tenor Madness, on the album with the same title. That's the only recorded performance of Sonny Rollins and John Coltrane together that I'm aware of.
Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's a pretty monumental moment in
That's the one, yeah.
jazz saxophone history, if ever there was one.
Definitely. I mean, the yeah, that kind of split off into two great careers, really. So yeah.
But but in that regard, Nick, would you believe that given all this context that Mike was talking about, the 56 sounds, all those great jam sessions, however, the Miles band seemed to have a purpose, a direction, right? A Miles direction, right? It was a part somehow. I mean, although not the sound, the kind of spirit, but there was a direction there. There was a purpose, right?
Well, so a number of things I think played into that. So with the Miles Davis Quintet featuring John Coltrane, Red Garland, Paul Chambers, and Philly Joe Jones, that was a real working group. And Miles typically didn't work that way before. It was just these all-star sessions. He'd call, this great player and that great player. But this was a real working group. It also was a period of time where Miles had been heard by George Avakian at the Newport Jazz Festival playing around midnight. And he wanted to sign Miles, but Miles was still under contract to Prestige. So Miles, being a shrewd businessman as well as a phenomenal artist and a legendary jazz musician, he came up with the idea of seeing if they could get Bob Weinstock at Prestige to agree to let Miles to start recording for Columbia, while he would go in and record enough material to let him out of his Prestige contract. And so on one hand, you have this real working group with Miles Davis, and on the other hand, he wanted to get out of his Prestige contract, and Bob Weinstock saw the wisdom in that because Columbia is a much bigger company with a lot more marketing dollars and marketing muscle, and he understood that he could record these albums and then release them over several years, and those albums would benefit from the exposure and the marketing that Columbia was going to do for Miles. So on May 11, 1956 and October 26, 1956, Miles went into the studio with this quintet and recorded all the material you hear by this quintet in this collection on only those 2 days. So on only those 2 days, they recorded everything for the albums Cookin', Relaxin', Workin', Steamin', plus Round Midnight, which appeared on Miles Davis and the Modern Jazz Giants.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
And reportedly, they were all first takes. Which sounds like it's true. Although with Prestige, they never saved alternate takes. So
it's true.
You never know if they maybe had a false start here or something and they recorded over it. But
yeah, because
they had been working together, they approached this recording session like they were playing in a club, and they just banged it out.
Yeah. And I was looking into the compositions, like what they were playing. And, I'm like a Charlie Parker nut. So they play a lot of Parker on Prestige, but I was looking at what Miles was playing, and Miles really never played any Charlie Parker compositions at Prestige. And I think it's notable, and Nick, correct me if that's wrong. That's what based on my research.
I have to research that, but Miles and Parker played together on Savoy.
Right. Right. Yes. Well, that's the thing.
Played a lot of Parker's compositions in that context, but
yes. So if you think about Miles's kind of mentality going in here, he starts with starts playing with Charlie Parker. He's in Charlie Parker's quintets and sextets and in those groups, which are great. And then he starts with the no nets at Capitol that produced the Birth of the Cool sessions, and that's like a very different thing as well, right? And then he gets to Prestige, and he is not doing Parker, although there's plenty of Parker by his peers on Prestige. I mean, there's Rollins plays for Bird. They're doing all standards that Bird used to play in like a melody format on that. And there's Parker peppered in all of those albums, except for the ones that Miles is doing. So I think it's notable that Miles is, he's playing this bop form, right? That everybody's playing on the label in 56. but he's choosing compositions outside of outside of Charlie Parker's. He does play some Dizzy though.
Yeah,
like
Salt Peanuts is
Yeah.
included in this collection.
Right.
And he is playing some what I would call bebop standards. He's playing Monk's Well You Needn't. But yeah, he's also doing American Songbook standards.
Yeah.
He's doing what have become jazz standards, compositions by other contemporaries at the time, like Dave Brubeck's In Your Own Sweet Way. He's playing some of his own compositions. He's also still playing some Sonny Rollins compositions. So, he recorded Erigen with Sonny Rollins in his band previously, and Olio.
Oh yeah.
And then he also
like my favorite song
does recordings of those compositions with this quintet. And so it's actually interesting if you jump around between these box sets, you can compare the different versions of Olio and Erigen with Sonny Rollins and with John Coltrane.
Yeah. I think it also has to do, Mike, just going back to what you're saying. He had like a love and hate relationship with Charlie Parker. I don't think he left Charlie Parker's band in very good terms, like lack of payments and being unprofessional. They had, their sparks there. Maybe he was just, going from Parker to the No Net and then to this format could be something, maybe establish his own identity. Just kind of separate.
Well, I mean, there's also the fact that Charlie Parker was a heroin addict. And, Miles Davis for a time was addicted to heroin. He got cleaned up before these 1954 recordings. Even Sonny Rollins for a period of time. So that was a problem back then. And of course, if people are addicted to heroin, they're probably not taking care of business as well as they should.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think it was totally intentional by Miles. I think he wanted to kind of carve out his own thing. I think he played Parker songs already. Why is he going to play them again? That could have been it.
And that's kind of has long been Miles's thing of he's always looking forward. He's always pushing the envelope. He wasn't content to stay in one place stylistically. He had said, I'm paraphrasing, if you want to hear me play that music, listen to my records, but I'm doing something different now.
Yeah. So and he did, I feel like in terms of the hard bop groups, I think I said this on one of our previous interviews, but like you had kind of the Clifford Brown, Max Roach was a great one. You had the Horace Silver, Art Blakey groups, like those were outstanding. And you have this Miles Davis, John Coltrane thing going on. And it's really, I know there's more than that, like Harold Land led groups. There were other groups definitely, but yeah, I think these are great classic hard bop. Kind of when hard bop was really kind of the thing, like really kind of the cool thing. I think that's at least my interpretation.
Yeah, and again, Miles was never one to stand still. So he's and not too long from these recordings, he's about to forge a whole different style that moves beyond hard bop. But the thing I love about these 1956 recordings, the energy and the excitement is still very palpable, and they just sound timeless. And but he would soon go on to something else. But Miles is very melodic in his soloing. He's amazing use of space, nuance. But then you have Coltrane, much busier player, kind of stretching the harmonic vocabulary. And so it's also what's interesting to me about this ensemble is they sound so amazing together as an ensemble, but they're different types of players. Miles's style is very different from Coltrane's. Red Garland's style is different. And it's this juxtaposition and contrast of styles that makes it so appealing. It's not just a homogeneous style across the board. And also the rhythm section, what's really fascinating is, like, for example, listen to If I Were a Bell.
Oh, yeah.
And you listen to Miles's solo and what the rhythm section is doing, supporting Miles in his solo. They're kind of, simmering. They're swinging and they're simmering. But then you get to Coltrane's solo, and it's like a rolling boil. And then you get to Red Garland's solo, and things simmer down a bit, and they're tipping. And so you listen to the rhythm section, how they adapt their style to each soloist. It's remarkable, but it's all swinging, but it's a different style of swinging for each soloist.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that they do a Dave Brubeck number. So that's in your own sweet way.
Right.
So
there are 2 recordings of that.
I wanted you to talk about that,
Yes.
the differences between them, and just your opinions about them.
Well, so the key difference, obviously the personnel, and so they sound different. You have different musicians. It's a different sound. What they have in common, of course, is Miles Davis and Paul Chambers, who's the bass player on all of this stuff. But the first recording of In Your Own Sweet Way features Sonny Rollins on tenor. And then the May 11th recording of In Your Own Sweet Way, which is the first thing that the Miles Davis Quintet recorded in 1956, that features John Coltrane.
Right.
And I think even in that short period of time of about 2 months, you hear the development of their approach to that song. It does sound different than the first recording that just occurred a couple months earlier.
Right. And because I think this is right, because they were recorded so closely together, they actually share the A side of the set. So you can, I think it's like the first track and the fourth track of
That's correct. Yeah.
So you can hear the different groups play the same composition, within, I guess, the same year, but like, and compare and contrast the styles with Sonny versus Coltrane. So that's like a kind of a fun way to start off the listening for this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, starting with disc 1, side A is a great way to go. And yeah, it just so happens that it does have In Your Own Sweet Way as the first and the last track on that side. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's what this box says. They address so elegantly. It shows this showing the band evolution, right? The transition from one moment to another. I mean, I think the whole chronological point that we see, and going back to the records, relaxing, cooking, steaming. We don't have the presentation of the records as we know them, but in the chronological order of the sessions. So I think, to me personally, I had a different impression. I had a different vibe and feel to it. So how did you listen to that? How was it to you to listen differently, or you hope this would bring to the listener by putting these recordings chronologically instead of the way we know it, like in those separate?
Yeah. Well, it's we didn't want to just put the 4 albums in a box, and all of those albums are still available. But the idea that this is a series, it is very intentional and deliberate, that all of the boxes in this series are sequenced chronologically. So within a box, you have that chronology. But then if you take all 3 boxes and you start from the first disc of Miles 54 and you listen through the last disc of Miles 56, you hear the evolution of his style over the course of 3 years. So I think for me, it's a fascinating way to listen as a musician, as someone who's interested in an artist's approach to the music, how they develop. And 3 years is not that long of a period of time.
Right.
But when you listen to how Miles has grown over the course of these 3 years as a player, as a leader, as an artist, it's pretty remarkable. It really is.
Agreed. Yeah. It is fun to track Miles's recorded output through those years. And this is a really kind of beautiful way to listen to it. So let's I would love to continue asking you questions about the music and the players, but I did want to talk a little bit about kind of the production chain of this.
Oh yeah.
So the booklet credits Jamie Howarth and John Chester with the transfers and restoration, Paul Blakemore with the mastering, and Kevin Gray with the vinyl mastering. So can you kind of just walk us through like the production steps here and some of the decisions that were made?
Yeah. So first it started with sourcing all the original analog master tapes. And for those that aren't familiar with plangent processes, it's a remarkable audio restoration. So the analog tapes were sent to plangent. They did the transfers, and they have a technology whereby they are able to remove the wow and flutter and the tape speed variations that are inherent in analog tape recordings. So I have never heard the recordings by Miles that are featured in this set sound better. That process, you don't realize until you hear that wow and flutter removed, how much kind of micro distortions that adds to a recording, and how removing them just opens up the sound stage, opens up the detail, reveals new layers of depth in terms of the nuance. And on Miles's trumpet in particular, I'm so used to hearing recordings of him playing that harmon mute, that mute that gives it that nice metallic buzz that he plays on so many things. I'm so used to hearing that with the wow and flutter and those kind of distortions. And so when that's removed and you're not hearing that kind of distortion and that wow and flutter anymore, you're just hearing Miles, it's really amazing. So that was the first part of the process, was having Jamie at Plangent deal with the tape transfers. Then he sent those to Paul Blakemore, who is Concord and Craft Recordings mastering engineer, multi-Grammy award-winning mastering engineer. And he did his mastering and then sent those mastered files to Kevin Gray, who did the lacquer cutting.
Okay.
So an ace team of engineers there.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's fantastic. And the plangent process, was that used across 54, 55, 56?
No, it was,
no, it wasn't.
It was special for Miles 56.
Okay.
Yeah, we did the extra step and the extra
fantastic
cost to the budget to really make Miles 56 kind of stand out. They're all fantastic, but I also think for my money, the recordings that Miles did in 56 are my favorite among these 3 box sets. But it's also, there's so much great material that's featured in the other boxes. It is really fun to listen to all of it and hear the evolution of his style.
Collecting Miles Davis prestige records are, for me, some of the most fun. And that's how when I really started getting into jazz, I was just like, I need to get these titles, like these Miles titles. So it's a lot of fun. If you're into the music, it's a lot of fun collecting Miles. And then, obviously that introduces you to so many different things. The music, but also the label, the artist, Rudy Van Gelder, all that stuff.
Yeah. Or the players, all these different musicians that played with Miles as side artists, being leaders in their own right, and then checking out their recordings, checking out some Red Garland albums, some Coltrane albums. Yeah.
Paul Chambers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Paul Chambers. I love everybody on that. I did want to ask you, and I'm sorry that we're reverting back to the music, but can you discuss a little bit what Red Garland adds to this quintet and how his piano playing is different from some of the bebop players, the other bebop players?
Yeah, the thing about Red Garland, in my opinion, he has a certain kind of elegance to the way he plays. He can play very soulful and bluesy, but he has this real elegant touch, this really light touch, and amazing with doing block chord stuff too. So he's great in this group in that he's an amazing accompanist. When Miles is soloing, when Coltrane's soloing, like I said, the whole rhythm section adapts to the style of the soloist. But his own soloing style is very different than Miles's and very different than Coltrane's. But it all works together because they're contrasting styles that somehow end up being complementary. And so I think Red always brings a certain kind of elegance to his playing, just beautiful touch.
Yeah, yeah. His trio work on Prestige is elegant. I would say that as well.
And his quartet stuff, you got to check that stuff out too, because his quartet is with John Coltrane.
Yeah, that stuff's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes I think they had Donald Byrd on. That's the other thing I want to ask you about. So another kind of label made at Prestige is Donald Byrd, and he's on a lot of those 56 sessions. He's playing with Wallington. He's on a lot of the jam sessions. I mean, he's everywhere on Prestige. So how would you kind of differentiate Donald Byrd's playing with Miles Davis's at the same year?
Well, they're very different. I mean, Donald Byrd, he's more in the lane of Freddie Hubbard and Lee Morgan a little bit more, whereas Miles is kind of in his own lane. Miles' style is unlike anybody else's, and not to say that Donald Byrd is an original, but I kind of, his style is more in that classic hard bop Freddie Hubbard, Lee Morgan kind of style of playing, but a fantastic player. I mean, he's also on some of the Coltrane 1958 stuff, and he's amazing. I think he's underrated for sure, Donald Byrd.
I agree. Felipe, what do you think of Donald Byrd?
I think sorry, got a little noisy in the background. I think he's one of the greatest, one of my favorites. He was such a smart guy. I think he was so ahead of his time in terms like, as a musician, managing his career. He had an amazing group. He discovered Herbie Hancock. He advised him early in his career, and he is a guy that was telling other musicians to go study. He wasn't the first to do such great fusion work at such a high level, and his pop recordings are amazing. I think he's really a force, and those records like Catwalk, Bird in Hand, Bird's Word. I think it's just great. Yeah.
Now,
but he was also an educator, and
exactly.
So his students formed the group, the Blackbirds.
Right.
So the name is obviously in honor of Donald Byrd. But yeah, he was also an artist that continued to evolve and not stay in one place musically.
Yeah. He had a great mind, like in general. I think so. Yeah.
But the reason why I just mentioned this, obviously, this kind of is veering away from the Miles Quintet, but I do feel like the context of 56 on Prestige has been something that I've just been diving into. And once you kind of get an ear for all of it and all the players, and then you hear the Miles Quintet, they really do stand out. They're just different than the other sessions, and there could be a number of things. Nick, you were saying that they were a working group, so like maybe they didn't have like rehearsal time in the studio, but they were tight from gigs. So
they came into the studio rehearsed. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So and they did a great job, and so I absolutely, I was so happy that we were able to get copies of this and then be able to interview you, because I've just happened to be really diving into this stuff, because for those who watch the Jazz Bums, I've recently had a son, and I've been listening to all different types of music with him. And it's kind of a real kick to just think like this is the first time he's heard this song. But with jazz, a lot of that Prestige 56 stuff, it's killer, but it's still something I could listen to with him as being a little baby. So I've just been diving in like crazy, and there's so many good records, and the Miles definitely are some of the top stuff. I would say the Miles and the Sonny Rollins those are excellent sessions. Weinstock really got extremely lucky with getting these musicians in there and playing.
And then, there's something about, when you listen to Miles and 56, these recordings, it's very exciting. You can tell they're onto something where they're pushing the boundaries, but yet it's still very accessible. It's still a great place for anyone new to jazz to start. It's like, you want to check out some jazz, check out Miles Davis Quintet in 1956.
Oh yeah, yeah,
you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, Miles's mute is great. You know, it's so quintessential Miles. It's great. So do we want to talk a little bit about the design? So I have Christopher Leckie is the designer.
Yeah, so he was the art director and designer for this entire series. So obviously, as you can see behind me, each box has a similar design aesthetic, but they're all each a little different. So they're designed to go together as a series. And with Miles 56, we actually used silver metallic ink, not only in the box itself, but in the photographs in the pages. And so maybe this one doesn't stand out as much when you look at it like a product shot, but when you actually get the package, and yeah, you can see like with that silver print, the photos just shimmer.
Yeah.
So it's a really special treatment on this final box.
I have to say, when I first saw online, like how the layout of the box, it was like, well, what happened to the colors? But when I got it, I think it really stands out. It's really terrific where the way all the silver came out.
And then the records themselves come in regular sleeves, glossy, and they use that same type of design treatment on each of them. The back also carries over the same design, and the labels also capture that too. So it's a really nice, cohesive presentation across the three sets, and yeah, they're a great way to get this material, and yeah. So anyway, it's a fun.
Well, and then we also Ashley Kahn once again wrote the liner notes, so he wrote the new liner notes for each box in this series, and he won a Grammy Award for his liner notes for Miles 55.
Congratulations!
Most deservedly so. And he does a fantastic job in this Miles 56 box of, putting you in New York in 1956 and all that was happening in New York and how that influenced Miles and how Miles influenced the culture there as well. And it's really cool. And then we have also, as
the
with
original
the other two
liner
box
notes,
sets, Dan Morgenstern's session notes. And prior to the release of Miles 54, when we decided we were moving forward with the Miles 54 project, I had reached out to Dan and said, hey, we would like to repurpose the appropriate portions of your liner notes that you wrote back for that 1988 Miles box on Prestige and include them in these box sets. And he said, oh, that's great. I'm honored that you would want to do that. And then before the Miles box got manufactured, he passed away. So so never got to give him a copy of the box, but his notes are included in all three of these box sets with his blessing.
Yeah, and he's he's a historic figure within the jazz community. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was running the Rutgers Institute for Jazz Studies. He was a former editor of Downbeat magazine.
Yeah.
Amazing jazz historian.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really great to see throughout the whole collection this juxtaposing of both languages, both periods, both styles, and both playing a great tribute to those. But just going back to the sound, Nick, when I got this box, I was like, I played it. I never heard it like this before, and I'm not exaggerating. Right?
I know people must think we're exaggerating, but you gotta hear it. If you've heard any of these albums and any pressings before, just put this on and listen to a track with Miles playing the harmon mute, for example.
Exactly, and I think, I mean, I have many different versions of these records, and this is the best way I ever heard the songs, and I have a pretty average, okay system, and it's quite revealing. And to me, it's just I was floored. I was not expecting to get that type of sound quality, despite the others being so good already.
Yeah.
Any OGs or 70s repressings, Van Gelder, whatever. I never heard this thing so crystal clear, crispy, well presented, with the whole space and sound, the whole terms, the whole jargon that people want to say. But I think they did like a fantastic, amazing job in the sound quality of this box.
Well, it's good to hear that I'm not the only one who thinks that, because
No, it is.
I was blown away when I first
noticeable. I have
the
not
rest.
listened to the digital version. I have not listened to the digital version yet. But this record, pressing quality and the sound is just a different experience while listening to these recordings. I think,
and so that carries through. Pick your flavor, right? If you like vinyl LP,
Right.
if you like CDs, we have this available
Yeah.
with 3 CD set. It's also available digitally and in high-res digital. So, for example, you can go to Qobuz and stream it in high-res. So, but obviously, all those versions benefit from this plangent process and the remastering.
Yeah.
So Concert Buddy is asking, what are the distribution channels for this offering? Just through the Craft website? Nick, do you want to take this one on?
It is available through the Craft website, so you can definitely get it there. It's also available at Amazon. It's available in record stores that stock it. I was pleasantly surprised a while back. I was in Oakland, and I just went into a tiny little record shop, and they had the Miles 55 box set on display there. So record stores are carrying it too. But if you can't find it at your local record shop, you can get it from the Craft Recordings website and from Amazon.
Yeah. And
so
jump in, Felipe.
No, I was just going to say, just piggybacking on that, Nick, is it something that you guys planning to do for other future releases, doing this plangent process in more future releases, revisiting some stuff?
Yeah, I think it depends on the project and the budget. It's always this process of how many do we think we can sell and what does the budget support. But for example, we did plangent processing on the 2 original albums in this Bill Evans box set as well.
That's the Bill
so
Evans.
I think where the sales, the projected sales and the artists warrant it, it's something I would love to do more of course, but you also got to get the budget approved. So I'm hopeful that we can do many more of these, because it really does sound great.
Well, I'll be sending you my recommendations. Hopefully. Well, the thing is that, what's great is the folks you're working with at Craft, they own some of the great catalogs. So like when we look behind you, the Miles is on Prestige, the Bill Evans was recorded for Riverside. The Sonny Rollins is contemporary. So, you can be pretty creative in
we've got Sonny Rollins catalog at Craft Recordings. We've got Sonny Rollins catalog on Riverside, on Contemporary, on Prestige, on Milestone. So there's a lot of Sonny Rollins catalog.
Yeah. Are there any future projects that you can share? Anything that's coming down the pike?
There are things I'm working on.
Okay.
For Craft Recordings, working on with Mason Williams, who's their senior VP of A&R there. So we've got a number of things in the works. I'll just throw a little thing out there. Just watch for a future Joe Henderson project, and that's all I'll say about that for now.
Oh, fantastic!
I don't want to get ahead of the publicist and the press release, but
sure.
I'm thrilled to be working on a Joe Henderson project that will be coming out.
That's why they pay you the big bucks, Nick. That is the right answer.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think given the catalog that you guys have, right, Concord is such a great, vast, and there's such a like so many different titles going from all over the spectrum, and I think you guys put out such a great quality product in terms of sound wise, presentation wise, everything's so carefully done, but at the same time you guys don't make too much noise about it. Like, oh, we are the audiophile, we're this, we're that. We just keep doing great, steady job, and we just,
Yeah, it's a real pleasure for me to work on these projects for Craft Recordings. For one reason, it's such a great team there, and so everyone really cares about the project. Mason Williams and Christopher Leckie on the artwork on this Miles series. There are other graphic designers there that I've had great pleasure working with. Lisa Glines, who did this, Bill Evans. And Paul Blakemore is an amazing mastering engineer. So as a compilation and reissue producer, it's such a joy to be able to work with other professionals each step of the way that are really at the top of their game and really care about what they're doing.
So Felipe, do you have any final questions?
No, I think it was a great wrap up for the series, Nick. Again, I think that the sound quality, the graphic presentations, they topped everything that you guys did before. You topped great stuff.
And then it doesn't hurt to have the music
to put it
Miles
that way,
Davis
right?
Quintet.
Right.
Absolutely.
And we're very happy with the conclusion of the series. Just always wondering how it's going to be the next, And I think it was a great trilogy celebrating his centennial, explaining, quote unquote, some things about his development that these things are so often talked about, discussed, but it is good, very nice to put into perspective historically, musically, and bring that to us in such a high level. And again, the sound quality that you guys were able to pull out for the last one it's remarkable. And I'm not saying that just for saying it. I really mean it. I
know you do, and thank you for your kind words and for appreciating the quality of the work that we're doing.
Yeah, and last thing, for the parentheses here, to all the whole group, also thank you very much to Jacob, who does such a great work, reaching out and organizing things and being so thoughtful, so kind, so nice.
Yes, he's great.
Nice word of appreciation for
Jacob. Is also a joy to work
Fantastic.
with.
Yes, such a nice guy. Thank you, Jacob.
Yeah. Thank you, Jacob. And I'll just piggyback off that with, as fans of this music, Felipe and I obviously love this. It's great to be able to have the producers come in, the mastering engineers come in on the channel. I know that we appreciate it and the viewers appreciate it as well. So we just want to thank you for, allowing us to, it's an honor to have you here. So we just wanted to thank you for stopping by and just talking about the music and how we're, keeping the music going with these great projects.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. And I look forward to the next time.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, we're going to get out of here. You can find the Miles 56 box on Craft's website. There is a link in the description. So you can go check that out there, and we'll see you all next time. All right. Bye.